Beyond Dreaming, a guide to awakening consciousness through the path of astral projection and out-of-body experiences by Hart. Part 5. Awakening. Naturally, the curious child I once was finally grew older, and I left school with average grades. However, I became one of the most successful amongst people I knew, opening many businesses and gaining a lot of work experience. Although I had little interest in school, I had always been practical and have always kept busy, putting in over 70 hours a week into businesses. This practicality in my nature clearly came as an advantage when it came to approaching meditation and astral projection. I was also accepted into one of the most prestigious universities in the UK to study computer science. Proud of my achievement, I attended the course, ravishing in the accomplishments that the world had told me was so important. Nevertheless, 1 month into university lectures, the looming tendency to not pay attention to excessive and meaningless academia, which had engrossed me so profoundly as a child, was still there as an adult, and with great dissatisfaction, I quit the course. With material purpose dissolving in my life, I found a deep interest in lucid dreaming, and I spent the next year engrossed in it. With the distraction of academic information out of the way, I found I had far more energy to focus on personal endeavors. This was when I began my personal path of discovery. The first topic that I developed a genuine interest in was lucid dreaming. When I studied and practiced it, I found myself naturally having hundreds of lucid dreams. This sense of being awake within my subconscious mind was fascinating, and I had never been more passionate than in any other subject than this. It wasn't just something I could intellectually hypothesize about, but something I could experience, feel, and touch. Lucid dreaming captivated me, a possibility to escape this mundane world and do what I want in a world of my own with infinite possibilities, and that's just what I did. I went on to have hundreds of enjoyable and entertaining lucid dreams. I flew through worlds of my own imagination, and I spoke with my subconscious to better understand myself and my fears. I even practiced the guitar while I was asleep. Nonetheless, I mistakenly treated lucid dreaming as a form of escapism, which was ultimately unsatisfying. As usual, I was still asking what the purpose behind all of this was. I enjoyed it for some time and learned many things about myself, but back then, I was still somewhat depressed and unsatisfied about the world and life's meaning in general. Eventually, I became bored with lucid dreaming. I asked myself, what was the point in experiencing life if all that I ever experience is in my mind? This question didn't just address my dreams, but also my waking life because, through lucid dreaming, I came to the realization that everything we see, even when awake, is only a reflection of our mind. When we see cars, trees, and other people, etc., we usually see the labels and ideas in our mind that we attach to them. With this somewhat grim realization of the virtualness of life, I gained an interest in meditation as a way to find some hope and meaning behind it all. Later in life, I eventually graduated with a philosophy degree. However, I was still mostly dissatisfied with what I had experienced academically. Western philosophy topics were interesting, but they were mainly explored with open-ended questions deriving from unenlightened Western philosophers who, like me, questioned reality yet never seemed to find any answers. Dissatisfied and disenchanted by philosophy, religion, and disgruntled by science, I still felt somewhat hollow. I knew so much about the surface layer of perception and reality, but if I was honest, I still lacked some sort of fulfilling substance. I could develop attractive philosophical thoughts about the world. However, deep down, I still knew something was missing. What was the point in continuing to live if I could not find the meaning behind the mundaneness of life that I had felt so strongly as a child? I reclused myself into depression throughout this stage of life. I continued to persevere with meditation, and I eventually came to the realization that I lived within the self-created illusion of my own mind. Through this realization, I came to understand that I was missing one essential ingredient: actively expanding consciousness, which has the ability to help us let go and free ourselves of perceptions that no longer serve us. Consciousness is the intelligent awareness that observes our thoughts, which is beyond all the ideas and labels of ourselves and the world. Thus, since it is greater than all that, it provides a space to transcend them. Once one's awareness is submerged within consciousness rather than the labyrinth of the mind, one begins to have liberating and enlightening shifts in awareness. That's when I conveniently found out about astral projection. I got my first book on the matter, The Art and Practice of Astral Projection by Ophiel. I practiced what the book told me to, religiously, with nothing better to do in my empty life. I put all of my depression to one side and gave my all into giving life the benefit of the doubt that there was more to it than what speculating philosophers and unenlightened sciences imply so often. Through diligent practice, I found the instinctual way of being needed for astral projection. That is, to gain control over my mind through peaceful silence and stop dreaming. In other words, to stop constantly projecting my own illusions of the world into my awareness. One night while lying in bed, I was in for a shocking surprise. I had my first out-of-body experience. For the first time in my life, I had indeed found something which did not disappoint or leave me with a sense of dissatisfaction or more looming questions. I had peeked through the veil of physical illusion and perception, which usually grips our consciousness to the material world so firmly. It was pure joy, and I was in a glow of awe for many days. Lucid dreaming, meditation, and astral projection all have distinctive layers of awakening and profundities, both while having out-of-body experiences and also after waking up. After coming out of my body for the first time, I had spontaneous and powerful occasions where I would be weeping in waking life from existential realizations of joy and enlightenment. My depression was being healed.